And yes, good morning to you once again. It's Thursday, the 19th of June, 2025. The program is On the Lord's Side, Christian Perspectives on News and Current Events. My name is Olufemi Oguntokun. You can follow me on Twitter at Olufemi OG. You can follow Gospel Bells Radio on Twitter at Gospel Bells Radio. Today I want to begin by engaging with the story of a certain man whose name at one time rang bells in the ears of many Nigerians. He was popularly known as Emmanuel Iwuanyanwu. His full name, Emmanuel Iwuanyanwu. He was born on the 4th of September 1942. He died at the age of 81 on the 25th of July 2024. He was a Nigerian politician and businessman. At one time, he was considered one of the richest Igbo men in Nigeria, and until his death, he was the 11th President General of Ohanaeze Ndigbo, which is a pan-cultural group for all Igbo people in Nigeria and I guess all over the world. And you may be asking, well, why are we engaging with a story relating to Chief Emmanuel Iwuanyanwu, who passed away on the 25th of July 2024? Because, well, it became part of the news yesterday, or I got to know about it, that the details of his will has now been made public. And of course, he was not a politician in that general sense. At one time, he was affiliated with a political party. I may not be able to get that information right now. But, well, at the time of the day, he did not hold any political office as far as I know. He did not hold any, but he was a public figure. He must have supported political causes. He was at one time affiliated with a political party. He tried to run for the presidency at one time, of course. But it's not someone you call a politician, but he was definitely a public figure, perhaps because of his wealth, and of course he was a philanthropist as well, and he had a football club too. He lived quite a flamboyant life, quite a colorful life, not flamboyant in the sense of wasteful. But from where I stand, I have nothing against him from a moral or Christian point of view. But some details about his will, those details now coming to light, give occasion for us to reflect on certain fundamental Christian principles. I'm talking about the estates left behind by public figures in Nigeria. You must know about some of the storied ones, some of those estates that have become difficult to sort out, not because some of the owners of this estate, some of the deceased owners of this, not because they did not leave behind written wills, but just because, with assets and money and property, you never know how those you have left behind would treat things. And from time to time, people make extra effort. I'm a lawyer myself, so I know that people make extra effort to just get their estate organized as much as possible, because you don't want, after you have gone, for there to be disputes about your wealth or about your estate. You must know about F.R.E. Williams, who was a renowned lawyer, a senior advocate of Nigeria. You would call him the primus inter pares, first among equals among lawyers in Nigeria. After his death, his estate faced disputes among family members over the distribution of his substantial assets, including properties and an investment, leading to prolonged legal battles in court. You must know of MK Abiola himself, the one believed to have won the June 12, 1993 presidential election, a businessman, business magnate and politician. Of course, his death in custody sparked controversy, and his vast estate, including business and properties, became embroiled in disputes among his numerous heirs. Well, he had many children, many wives, and there were many issues over his will, including a requirement that all the children should subject themselves to DNA testing, allegations of fraud against some other children, and there are ongoing conflicts about his estate. And if you know Nigeria history very well, you must know of Festus Okotie-Eboh, 1912 to 1966. He was Nigeria's first republic finance minister. He was assassinated during the 1966 coup, and he had, of course, vast business interests. And of course, for many lawyers and law students, they will remember many of the cases relating to his estate. Those cases are regularly cited by law teachers to law students today. A notable case involved his daughter, Alero Jadesimi and the disputed sale of a property in Ikoyi, with litigation continuing as recently as 2020. There is the estate of Israel Adebayo as well. There is the estate about Alex Ibro as well. There were conflicts relating to that. So I'm just saying that it is not unusual, not only in Nigeria, in many parts of the world, that estates of vastly rich persons sometimes become difficult to sort out after their deaths. And in the case of Chief Emmanuel Iwuanyanwu, the detail about his will that has got many people, well, raising eyebrows, or at least talking, is the fact that in his will he stated that his young widow, because I understand that before his death he married a much younger woman, that his young widow should not remarry, and if she does, she would lose everything given to her under his will. According to this report, it says late Chief Iwuanyawu's alleged will bans his young widow from remarrying, or she risks losing inheritance. And of course, this is the age of social media and the internet, where everybody has a say. You can imagine that many people have been giving their own 2 cents about this. The report says the last will and testament of the late elder statesman and former President General of Owane Ndigbo, Chief Engineer Dr. Emmanuel Iwuanyanwu, has been read to his family 1 year after his death, and it allegedly comes with a controversial clause. Recall that Chief Iwuanyanwu married his first wife, Lady Eudora Nnena Iwuanyanwu, and they stayed married for over 40 years until her passing on August 28, 2011 at the age of 63. In 2013, that's 2 years after the death of his wife, Chief Iwuanyanwu, who was then 72, married 26-year-old Frances Enwerem. He died on July 25, 2024 at the age of 82, leaving behind a 37-year-old widow. So you can understand the dynamics here. This man was 82 when he died. He left behind a 37-year-old widow, by any calculation, a young woman. And their union produced a son. On June 16, 2025, late Chief Iwuanyawu's alleged will was made public. According to the publication, the will executed by Chief Iwuanyanwu, the will made by Chief Iwuanyanwu and executed by Chief Ekomaru, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, details how the revered businessman and politician's estate will be shared among his immediate family members and chosen beneficiaries. Among the notable provisions is the bequest of the iconic legacy house on Port Harcourt Road, Owerri, to Frances. That's the widow, the 37-year-old widow, who must be 38 now. However, she is expressly forbidden from selling the property. Alongside the residence, she also inherits ownership of Magill Furniture, a business previously run by Iwuanyawu's late first wife, Eudora, as well as partial stakes in real estate assets located in Oji, Works Layout, all in Imo State. The will stipulate that should Frances choose to remarry, she will automatically forfeit all these inheritances. The couple's son has been granted ownership of the family's Abuja residence. Meanwhile, the London property is to be sold, with the proceeds distributed among the other children. Iwuanyanwu directed that the glass house near Oji Flyover be transformed into a public trust. An independent board will oversee the properties used for charitable and community-focused initiatives. Other valuable assets spread across Abuja, Imo, and other locations in Nigeria have been equitably allocated among Iwuanyawu's 5 children. So he had 4 children from his first wife, who died at the age of 63 in 2011, as we have just read from this report, and then had another son from the younger woman he married 2 years after his first wife died. And by his Nigerian standards, really, by African standards, you must say that, well, he did not overly abuse his wealth. He did not use his wealth to just to have a harem of women in his home. I mean, don't compare that with MK Abiola, for example, who had many wives and concubines, almost trying to jostle with Solomon, for that title. But you see, dispute about estate are not limited to just those who have many wives. FRA Williams had just one wife. All his children from that only wife. Yet his estate was subjected to so much dispute. But in this case, we don't have any dispute yet. It's just that that particular clause in his will caught the attention of many people. Indeed, I read somewhere, and I was so pleased to read somewhere, that all his children, the grown children, they have all said that their father wisely distributed his asset in his will. So all of them have affirmed the will. We do not expect anybody to contest it. All the grown children have said on record, and I hope I get to it, that I find it. All of them have said on record that indeed their father did well in how he allocated his property, how he the provisions that he put in his will, and we celebrate them for that. It is yet to be known whether this lady, the 37-year-old widow, now 38, whether she will be contesting this. I don't see any reason why she should contest this. And you begin to ask yourself, why would a clause like that be put in a will? Well, it is because as human beings, why do people make wills in the first place? And let's leave that. Let's go at the question of why would you put a clause like that and say to this young woman, he said to her, well, do not marry, else you lose all the things I've given you. I've given you this much, a testament of my love for you. I guess that's what he's saying. I care for you. I care for our son. However, I know you are quite young. If you remarry, then you're going to lose all these things that I have given to you. And of course, you have many people who will say, "Oh, that's a wrong thing to do," and that does not speak well of the lady. And it's interesting to read many of the reactions to this. Somebody wrote, "Say, lady, please take your child or children and run for your dear life." Another person wrote, "Since the son got an inheritance, that is the best move. He should just leave." Somebody said, "Foolish man." And that person said, "Useless man." And I'm surprised that people are these harsh on the late Chief Emmanuel Iwuanyanwu. Another person wrote now in support of the chief, said nothing wrong about that. The money is will. Also, it is left for her to decide if she wants to keep the inheritance or marry another. Then the inheritance goes to the son. Honestly, that is a good written will, because I don't want another stranger marrying my wife and having entitled money and my sweat. No. So that's the view of this anonymous person, saying that what the man did, he could have done as well. And you see, it's a peculiar situation, really. You have this lady who is just 38, who was 37 when the man died, and now 38. She still has her life ahead of her. It would not be out of place to think that she would marry. Indeed, in her marrying a 61-year-old man at the age of 27, she took a great risk, really. But somebody out there will be saying, Femi, are you sure you know what you are saying? That she married a rich man, that she knew exactly what she was doing. I do not know exactly what was in her heart. But this much we know, that rich people, indeed everyone with assets, would want as much as possible to control what happens to those assets after death. Right after death, you want to make sure that you, as much as possible, as far as it lies in your power, you want to be able to dictate how things will be done after you are gone. It is a good thing to do. It's a sensible thing to do. It's a prudent thing to do. But ultimately, it's a futile thing, to do. Once you are gone, you are gone. You have no control over how things are done. Even if you, the only thing you can do is to stipulate your will, what you want to happen. And having done that, will should be respected according to law, even from a moral point of view. But even having done that, nobody has ultimate control about what happens to the estate after it is gone. What was going on in the mind of the chief when he made this will? And many people have pointed out, and rightly so, that provisions like that are not unusual in the wills of elderly men who married younger people. Even those who marry people who are in their age group, they still have provisions like that in their wills. It's almost standard, because if the man is thinking to himself, well, this woman, I'm giving her all this in my way because I should give her. I love her. She's entitled to it. But I do not want her then to remarry and then take all that I've given her to another person, because that's the reality. If the woman decides to remarry, the assets will still be in her name, but if she is married to another person, that other person will naturally marry to that woman and then enjoy the benefits of the property. Somebody out there is saying, so what? I mean, you are gone. Let her live her life the way she wants to live her life. I remember a certain respected man whom I love so much. On his deathbed, he was saying to his father, look, you can do whatever you want to do with your life, and feel free to live your life the way you would want to live your life. I suppose, and this is a personal opinion, I suppose that one should be wise enough to have that kind of approach to life, where you give a gift, you give it, and you don't really put conditions like that. You say, look, because the reality is the reality. I want you to still enjoy your life, live it the way you want to live it after I'm gone, because I would have been gone. And that's the reality that we don't really appreciate, many of us as human beings. And I'm not saying I'm excluded, but the reality is, once you are gone, then you are actually gone. You're actually gone. It is most times futile to try as much as possible to control what happens afterwards. And don't get me wrong, this is not saying that it is not prudent and important, really, and advisable, I would say, to make a will. It is prudent, advisable, it is the right thing to do. I'm saying that going the extra mile to then say that I haven't given this gift, now putting many of these conditions. These are conditions that courts have upheld. In this case, would likely be upheld if the woman should choose to marry. This condition would be invoked and enforced. I'm just saying that not going the extra mile to then put many of those conditions. It may be helpful. It may satisfy one's ego crying and all that. But you see, in the final analysis, what can you actually do about that? In the final analysis, what can you really do? What does the Bible say about women whose husbands die? The Bible teaches very clearly, according to Paul. He wrote in 1 Corinthians, and I hope I can get to that. He wrote in 1 Corinthians, he said very clearly that when the husband has died, the wife should be free to remarry, and should have no. There should be no there should be no restrictions on the right of the wife to remarry after death, and that's a very important thing. That's what the Bible teaches, that a woman is free to remarry after. I want to read that exactly from 1 Corinthians 7:39. A wife is bound to her husband as long as he lives. If her husband dies, she is free to marry anyone she wishes, but only if he loves the Lord. This is Paul writing and saying, oh, the woman you want to marry must know the Lord. But many people are reacting to this scriptural passage cited by this gentleman on Twitter. Said, well, please, nobody is asking her not to marry. What we are saying that if she wants to remarry, she should relinquish all assets and inheritance to her late husband's family. I do not know what position to take on this. Is this something you would do? What would you say? Would you say that the man acted rightly? Because you look at all the sides to the matter and you say, look, this man, before he died, he had grown children, grown sons. Those grown children could have inherited all these assets that he has now decided to give to the woman. And after all, he has been fair enough. He has given a substantial asset to the son from the union between himself and this younger woman. And well, she has to make a choice. She has to make a choice between holding on to those assets and living her life with another person, another husband. And it's left to see how she's going to navigate all this. It is not fair to expect her to remain unmarried, right, at age 38 for the rest of her life. That is not an unfair thing. But of course, you don't expect that she has an intention to remarry as well. She'll just live her life and see what comes around. If she meets a person who truly loves her, and she loves I would expect her to pursue happiness and to relinquish those assets. And I know some people will be laughing at me and say, what, you want her to pursue those assets? Some people say, well, only if the new man is rich, is equally rich. But it's a moment where we on the Lord's side are to be reminded of what our Lord said. Our Lord said this, and this I love to quote: a man's life does not consist in the abundance of the things he owns. A man's life does not consist in the abundance of the things he owns. Whenever the choice confronts a Christian between choosing whenever a church confronts a Christian to choose between money and asset and possessions and any other lofty thing, I hope that we on the Lord's side are not overly compelled by the side that has the possession and the money and the riches. There are things that are more important than those things. And somebody will say, well, don't be foolish. Nothing is more important than money. When Jesus himself thought about money, the record from the gospel is that the Pharisees laughed at him. They laughed him to scorn. Actually, that's why they laughed him to scorn when he told them about money and about how one should not be overly concerned about it. Money is important. I'll be the first to admit that. You yourself know that. Nobody needs to say that. I'm just saying that sometimes when the choice is between money and some other lofty ideal, one should not immediately run to the side of money. Time will tell whether a choice like this will confront this lady, this 38-year-old lady. I really feel for her somewhat, right? Time will tell whether that choice confronts her. If she does not intend to remarry, she's going to stay and hold on to the inheritance given to her under her late husband's will. If she chooses to remarry, then that choice will confront her either to let go of those assets inherited under Chief Iwuanyawu's will, or to pursue her life elsewhere. I do hope that when that choice confronts her, she will make the right choice, and she will not only think of those assets at that time. Is that the kind of provision you put in the will? Is that the kind of provision you think a Christian should put in his will? I think that, my personal opinion, if this man truly loved that lady, he should be happy to give her those things and give her completely. If he wanted to provide for the son, he could have given the son more asset from his will, and could have given her less and make other provisions for her. But to put conditions to gifts is a bit distasteful. To put conditions like this to gift is a bit distasteful. I know that the man would want to keep those assets in his family as much as possible, but those are my personal opinions. I do not know whether you agree, but this is again how we find ourselves, even as Christians, confronted with issues that are borderline, and it's difficult to say this is the right thing or the wrong thing here. But my own personal views would be, well, if you are giving a gift out of love because you genuinely love a person, just give the gift, because after all, in the final analysis, how much control do you have after you are gone? Because you are gone. Okay, next I want to engage with this story. I came across this story early in the week. There was a leaked video published by Sarah reporters relating to the MD of Fidelity Bank. Fidelity Bank is one of the leading banks in Nigeria. This lady, Onyali Ikpe, in this call, confessed to paying a bribe, to the police to avoid being detained over some dispute relating to a particular customer. Now, this clip is about 4 minutes 18 seconds long. I'm not going to play everything, but I'm going to give you some context so that you can understand. Basically, in this leaked audio, this is the conversation between a bank customer and the MD of Fidelity Bank. Obviously, this man must have had substantial amount of money in Fidelity Bank. So what happened was that we do not know all the details. Was that the authorities flagged this man's account, and they suggested that Fidelity Bank and the officials were complicit, perhaps in helping the man to launder money. And Fidelity Bank, according to this lady, the MD, wrote to the man who was out of Nigeria at that time, asking him to come back to Nigeria to come and attend to queries from the police. And this man did not respond. And then this woman mentioned what she had to do to avoid being detained by the police.
May be doing. I deserve that the bank should have contacted me, speak with me, talk to me. I've made all the effort in the world trying to get somebody to talk to me, and nobody wants to talk to me. And they just exercise the will that my banking instrument is in control of your people, so they can go into your computer system, manipulate it, shut me out, freeze my account, cut me off completely. I worked in that bank for a while.
Okay, Mr. Ofo. My view is that we should speak later. I need to get somewhere now, which is very important. Is this number your number? 5742.
Yes, it's my number.
This 5742. Okay, so let me call you back later in the day.
I'll appreciate that.
But we wrote you. I'm surprised you're saying that we didn't reach you out. We wrote you and told you we're having major issues with the police.
No.
And of which I had to bail myself because I was almost detained, even me. And that you should come so that we can deal with this matter. And we gave you 14 days to come to the country so we can deal with it. We didn't hear anything. Instead, what we saw was a court case and all that. They have put us in a very, 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 very difficult situation. And you don't blame the bank for acting in any way because we have to protect ourselves as well. So, however, I would have thought that if this is what that's important, you should have you should have called me when we wrote you and told you that you should come in 14 days. We didn't receive any call from you. All we now saw was a court case. And what do you want the bank to do? When we're in and out of police, and I had to bail myself with 5 billion. And the staff, we have 4 staff spend the night because of you and your.
Okay,
you don't blame the bank for acting
where the MD said she had to bail herself with 5. According to Sarah Reporter, I said 5 billion. So people say what they can hear from this clip is 5 million. It's not clear, but listen to it again.
Yeah, instead what we saw was a court case and all that. They have put us in a very, 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 very difficult situation. And you don't blame the bank for acting in any way because we have to protect ourselves as well. So, however, I would have thought that if this is what that's important, you should have you should have called me when we wrote you and told you that you should come in 14 days. We didn't receive any call from you. All we now saw was a court case. And what do you want the bank to do? When we're in and out of police, and I had to bail myself with 5 billion. And the staff, we have 4 staff spend.
Okay, I do not know what you add there. Sarah Reporter said 5 billion. Some people say no, it's not 5 billion, it's 5 million. But is that the point really? What does this tell us about our legal system? And I don't want anybody laughing at me and saying, is that something not known to us before? Yes, it may be something that we are accustomed to already, but this is not something we should normalize. And the sad thing is that this is something that has been normalized. I see all the reactions to this story since it broke on Monday. People arguing whether it was 5 million or 5 billion. And I'm saying stop. Just stop focusing on the minor. Stop majoring on the minor. Well, this is the MD of one of the top banks in Nigeria confessing unwittingly, of course, in this leaked phone call, that she had to pay 5, whether million or billion. It will be difficult to believe it's billion. We do not know how much money is involved there, but she had to pay something. She had to pay money, even if it was 5, even if it was 50,000. She had to pay money. But now we're talking about million or billion. She had to pay money, 5 million or billion, to escape being detained. So, and this is exactly how police authorities play it in Nigeria. They find they build up a case. Your guilt has not been proven, and they say, look, we are going to detain you. They know that the last thing this MD would want would be to be detained in a police cell. She's the MD of a bank. Even the person who is not the MD of a bank does not want to be detained in a police cell. You are not even guilty of anything, you have not been pronounced guilty, the last thing she would want would be to be detained in a police cell. And I can imagine how all the officers of the bank, would be falling over themselves to get her out. They must have immediately contacted their lawyers to intervene, and those they know to intervene with the police. And of course, the reputational damage to the bank as well, if news should break that the MD has been detained. And so the law enforcement agencies and agents, they leverage on these concerns and these fears, and then they demand so much from people who they say have questions to answer in a particular matter. Well, what we now know, unless this woman was lying when she spoke with that customer, what we now know is that she had to pay. And of course, the bank must have underwritten that she had to pay as much as 5 million, although it sounds like 5 billion, but she had to pay a heavy amount of money to the police to avoid being detained. If we were living in a sane and righteous country, one would expect at this time for an inquiry to have been opened by the police authorities, and of course with the presidency, which has the supervisory function over the police, to have opened an inquiry to determine whether the money was really paid, to whom it was paid, into which account it was paid, and what was done with it. Because this wasn't a sum paid into the single treasury account. This was not a sum paid into the consolidated revenue fund. It was paid to someone. To whom was it paid? What did that person do with it? The fact that we are not asking these questions, the fact that everybody accepts it as, well, that's what happens, the fact that the police authorities are not investigating it, the fact that the presidency, which supervises the police, is not interested at all, has not released any statement at all, the fact that this is going to go away and nobody will remember it again, these facts tell us where the trajectory of our morality is pointing at this time. It's a sad thing, and the question everybody has been asking is, who is going to wash this nation clean? It reminds me of that old novel by one of the pioneer African writers, that Ghanaian writer, The Beautiful Ones Are Not Yet Born. This was a book written in the 60s as a satire on the political landscape of Ghana in the 1960s, which was similar to the political landscape in many African countries, including Nigeria in the 1960s. Hey, it is still the same thing. The beautiful ones are not yet born, that writer wrote. And oh, how lamentable that we look around our society today and we are saying again, the beautiful ones are not yet born. Written by Ayikwe Hama, that Ghanaian writer Ayikwe Hama, the beautiful ones are not yet born. But you know what? That's not something that Christ would agree with, to say that the beautiful ones are not yet born. The people who are not on the Lord's side may throw their arms in the air and say, don't bother yourself about things like this. Don't bother yourself about this. The beautiful ones are not yet born. People who are not on the Lord's side may be excused if they should say something like that. We who are on the Lord's side will not be excused. We have been bought by the precious blood of Christ. He will look at us and say, you dare say the beautiful ones are not yet born? I've washed you. You have been cleansed. I've given you the Lord's Holy Spirit, and you are still saying the beautiful ones are not yet born. Everyone may be doing it. I pray that if you are confronted with the temptation to join in the rot in the society, that you will have the courage to say no, because you have been made beautiful by the Lord God Almighty. We should not be among those who say the beautiful ones are not yet born. Thank you very much for staying with us this morning on Gospel Best Radio for On the Lord's Side, Christian Perspectives on News and Current Event. I hope to be with you again tomorrow by the grace of God. Whatever you do today, please remain family on the Lord's side. God bless you. God bless you very good.
You are listening to GospelBellsRadio.com, the Christian internet radio with a mission to engage the culture with the mind of Christ. Keep listening and invite others too. God bless you.
Engaging the culture with the mind of Christ.
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 Engaging the culture with the mind of Christ.